All rights reserved. 1. What do you think are the effects of Korean War on Taiwan? When General MacArthur pursued Kim Il-sung, Chiang Kai-shek of Taiwan proposed sending a 33,000-strong force to the Korean peninsula to participate in the war. However, this suggestion was rejected by the United States, which did not want to expand the scale of the conflict and aimed to keep the war confined to a limited proxy struggle. After China entered the Korean War, the United States also became concerned that Chiang Kai-shek might take advantage of the situation with the Chinese involvement to launch an attack on mainland China. As a result, the U.S. warned Taiwan that if it initiated a counteroffensive to the mainland during the Korean War, the 7th Fleet patrolling the Taiwan Strait would use force to prevent the Nationalist Army from crossing the sea. China's participation in the war solidified its pro-Soviet anti-American stance, strengthened its position within the Communist international camp, and secured substantial military and technical resources from the Soviet Union. It also helped China gain global recognition, reinforcing the new regime's international status. However, after the Korean War ended, the continuous presence of the U.S. 7th Fleet patrolling the Taiwan Strait logically prevented Mao Zedong's plans to invade Taiwan. Later, when reviewing the Resist America Aid Korea War, China came to the conclusion that the timing of its intervention was wrong. The newly established government was still in the early stages of nation-building, with numerous issues to address, including the Tibet and Taiwan questions. China's participation in the Korean War disrupted its domestic agenda and came at a significant cost. To explicate Taiwan's status in South China Sea, Taiwan faces a diplomatic isolation dilemma in the South China Sea issue. Due to the ongoing dispute over Taiwan's political status, most countries do not recognize Taiwan as a sovereign state, which limits Taiwan's diplomatic negotiations and actions in the South China Sea. Relations with the United States. Although Taiwan has a clear stance on territorial disputes in the South China Sea and maintains close military and economic ties with the United States, the U.S. has not explicitly supported Taiwan's position on the South China Sea. This is primarily because the U.S. seeks to maintain a multilateral negotiation mechanism for the South China Sea issue to avoid escalating tensions into a large-scale conflict. U.S. policy in the South China Sea usually emphasizes freedom of navigation and expresses concerns about China's actions, especially in the context of China's militarization and expansion of islands in the South China Sea. Relations with Southeast Asian countries. Taiwan has engaged with several countries around the South China Sea, such as the Philippines and Vietnam, but these countries have sovereignty disputes with Taiwan. Taiwan and Vietnam have historical conflicts over territorial claims in the South China Sea, while relations with the Philippines are more complex. Nevertheless, Taiwan and these countries still engage in practical cooperation, particularly in joint management of fishing resources in the South China Sea. Economic and resource development. The fishing resources in the South China Sea are of significant importance to Taiwan's economy, as Taiwanese fishermen have long operated in these waters. Taiwan's fishing industry engages in joint fishing activities with fishermen from other countries in some areas. However, as the South China Sea dispute has intensified, Taiwanese fishing activities often face challenges and conflicts from China and other countries. In addition, the rich energy resources in the South China Sea are also a key area of interest for Taiwan. Despite various international legal restrictions, Taiwan still conducts resource exploration and development activities in some disputed maritime areas and engages in related cooperation. Military and security. Taiwan's military role in the South China Sea is relatively low profile, but it remains vigilant. Taiwan has some defensive deployments in the region, particularly on Taiping Island, where it has established an airport, military facilities, and other defense infrastructure. Taiwanese government is also concerned about China's military expansion in the South China Sea and strongly opposes any military threats to Taiwan. Challenges under the One China policy. China's assertive stance in the South China Sea poses challenges for Taiwan. As China strengthens its control and militarization of the islands in the South China Sea, Taiwan faces two major challenges. On the one hand, China claims sovereignty over all the islands and waters in the South China Sea, which threatens Taiwan's control. On the other hand, Taiwan is concerned that China may further escalate military pressure on Taiwan, especially in the context of the strategic dynamics of the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait. Conclusion. Overall, Taiwan's role in the South China Sea is multifaceted, involving territorial sovereignty claims and facing challenges from international politics, diplomatic pressure, and military security concerns. Although Taiwan's position is difficult to officially recognize in the international arena, Taiwan continues to play an important role in the region and exercises de facto control over certain islands in the South China Sea. 3. How do the divisions of Jerusalem between East and West Jerusalem reflect the political and religious tensions in the city? The division of Jerusalem into East and West has historically been not just a geographical split, but a reflection of the city's deep-rooted political, religious, and ethnic tensions. Jerusalem holds immense symbolic significance for multiple peoples and religions, particularly for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. This division has been shaped by numerous political and military conflicts, as well as international disputes, and it embodies the region's long-standing political, cultural, and religious struggles. 1. Historical background. The division of Jerusalem. The division of Jerusalem, especially after the establishment of Israel in 1948, traces back to the wars and political maneuvering in the region. Through the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, Jerusalem was split into two parts. East Jerusalem was controlled by Jordan, while West Jerusalem came under Israeli control. East Jerusalem. This area included the Temple Mount, Al-Aqsa Mosque, and other sites of profound religious significance to both Islam and Judaism. East Jerusalem became part of Jordan, which ruled the area until the 1967 Six-Day War. During this period, Jordan's governance had a lasting impact on the Palestinian population, particularly in terms of lifestyle, religious activities, and cultural identity. West Jerusalem. After the 1948 war, West Jerusalem was controlled by Israel, becoming the capital of Israel and the political and cultural center of the Jewish state. The establishment of the Israeli government and its control over West Jerusalem marked a strong Jewish and Israeli influence in the city's social, religious, and national structures. 2. Changes after the 1967 Six-Day War. In 1967, the Six-Day War took place. In this conflict, Israel not only defeated the Arab coalition but also captured East Jerusalem, declaring the entire city as Israel's eternally undivided capital. This action altered the political landscape of Jerusalem, incorporating the previously Jordanian-controlled East Jerusalem into Israel's territory. However, this move was not widely recognized by the international community. The United Nations Security Council strongly called for Israel to withdraw from the territories it occupied during the 1967 war and proposed a two-state solution. The status of Jerusalem remains one of the most contentious issues between Israel and the Palestinians, with no resolution in sight. 3. The intertwining of religion and politics. The division of Jerusalem reflects the deep religious and political tensions within the city. For Jews, Muslims, and Christians, Jerusalem holds irreplaceable religious significance. Judaism. Jerusalem is the holiest city in Judaism, home to the Western Wall and the Temple Mount, which is considered the site of the ancient Jewish temple and is the spiritual heart of Judaism. For Israel, control over both the eastern and western parts of Jerusalem is central to preserving Jewish identity and historical claims to the city. Islam. For Muslims, Jerusalem is also of profound religious importance, particularly the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock, which are believed to be the sites from which the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. As the third holiest city in Islam, Muslim control over East Jerusalem carries both religious and political significance. Christianity. For Christians, Jerusalem is the city of Jesus' birth, crucifixion, and resurrection. Christian holy sites, such as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, are central to the religious identity of Christians worldwide. Thus, the religious diversity of Jerusalem makes it a focal point for the intersection of different beliefs and cultures. This situation not only affects religious rituals and practices in the holy sites but also directly influences political sovereignty claims over the city. 4. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Since Israel gained control of East Jerusalem, Palestinians have viewed East Jerusalem as the capital of a future Palestinian state. This directly contradicts Israel's position, which declares Jerusalem as its unified capital. Palestinians demand that East Jerusalem be the capital of their state and strongly oppose Israeli settlement activity in the area. This conflict has been a core issue in the broader Israeli-Palestinian dispute. 5. International controversy and diplomacy. The international community is divided over the status of Jerusalem. Many countries support the Palestinian claim for East Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine and do not recognize Israel's sovereignty over the entire city. The United Nations has passed several resolutions calling for Israel to withdraw from the East Jerusalem areas it occupied in 1967, emphasizing the international status of the city. However, with the relocation of the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem under the Trump administration, the political situation in the city has become even more tense, further complicating international relations and deepening the dispute over the city's future. 6. Conclusion. The division of Jerusalem between East and West reflects the city's long-standing political and religious conflicts. This division is not merely a geographical separation, but a manifestation of the complex interplay between ethnic, religious, and cultural struggles. The religious significance of Jerusalem makes it a focal point of political disputes, and the question of sovereignty over the city remains a central issue between Israel and the Palestinians, as well as in the broader international community.